RainierAvenueRadio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at RainierAvenueRadio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
All right. You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio, broadcasting all day long for Make Music Seattle. We now go live to Danielle McCutcheon with her virtual violin and viola lessons.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Make Music. And I'm at my home studio, and we're going to talk about violin and viola today. Now, some of you might already play, and I've been playing for a long, long time, especially violin. So today I'm going to start with a little bit of a beginning lesson for both instruments, and then we'll go from there. So when you first start to play, you have to kind of learn how to hold the instrument, right? So this is a violin, and all you do is hold it on your left shoulder and a little bit of an angle like that. It's a little hard to tell here, but it's not going out straight from my throat like that, and I'm not putting it like way, way over there, more like 45-degree angle. And then you learn how to hold the bow. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But now I just want to play some beginning songs that you might learn at first. For example, that, or like that. Let me play those on viola, because if you are not familiar with viola, it's a different sound, okay? Okay, so here's a viola. So violas are bigger generally, but they do come in different sizes. And if you're really beginning and you're a small person and you're very young, you can start with a really pretty small instrument that almost looks like a toy. Okay, so that's just a couple of beginning songs that you might learn. And when you're also starting, you might learn scales. Do you know the word scale, or do you know what it means? So if I play on my D string, and that's the first note of my scale, I go up to the next D. So I go 8 notes, and that's what we mean by a scale. So that's one of the beginning things you learn to do. Let me just show you a D scale. Like that. I'll play a D scale also on viola, just so you can hear the difference. Like that. Okay, that's an 8-note scale. Let's talk a little bit more about holding the instrument. How do I know where to put my fingers? So you'll notice on the fingerboard here that I don't have any frets. Like if you're familiar with guitar, or maybe you've seen mandolin or banjo, they'll have markings here, those lines that kind of indicate where your fingers go. But the difference with a string instrument like violin, viola is that you have to kind of learn exactly where to go, and we're adjusting all the time to stay in tune. So at first, you can actually play like this. Sometimes I teach playing kind of like you are holding the guitar, because you can pluck with your thumb. And if you have your instrument there, you can try to do this along with me. So you hold your instrument like guitar, and this way you can kind of see what you're doing with your left hand. So, for example, if I'm just learning where to put fingers, I might pluck. So this is viola, so this is the G. And And then just gradually learn how to put fingerings down. And the fingerings for violin viola are called, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, which is a little different than piano if you play piano. So, and then we go into lots of different patterns. Okay, and you can do the same thing on violin, plucking. And then also we do use this finger, and I like to teach people pretty early on how to use the pinky finger. So you might actually do what I like to call warm-ups. It's a dexterity exercise which gets your fingers going. Let me show you kind of the beginning way to do that. So you might see it like this. I'll just play on the A string on violin if you want to try to play along with me. Let's start kind of slow. So it's like I'm starting to do the A scale, except I go to pinky finger. Let me show you this way. So 1, 2, 3. And now instead of my E string, I'm going to play my 4th finger. And then go back down. So and you'll gradually go faster and faster on that. And that's how you really get to use this muscle here in your hand, which is kind of weak at first. And at first, when you start to do this exercise, if you're just playing, you might have trouble reaching up with that finger and getting it in tune. So at first, you might kind of sound like this. Like I'll do it on the D. So you might play more like an A flat. That's okay. Just keep doing it because it takes a while to get that going. Gradually you can reach up more like this, okay? Okay, and you can do it on all the strings too. So let's talk about the difference a little bit between melody and harmony. So at first, you might learn simple songs like a couple I played before, and where it's a melody that maybe it's a song you know how to sing. So that makes it kind of easy to remember and makes it easy to kind of figure out what the note pattern is and the finger pattern. So, for example, here's another song. It has a little bit more of a rhythm pattern. The rowboat song I played before, it has a kind of a harmony rhythm type pattern that can be played with it. So I'm just playing D 3 times and then A 3 times. So you can try this out while I play the rowboat song because this goes with that. So I'll maybe go about this fast for now. But so that went with that. Good. Then I'm going to switch to viola to play another song that's got a really beautiful melody. You might recognize this, especially if any of you are using the Suzuki books. Some of these songs are the beginning of the Suzuki books, and you can find these songs elsewhere too. So, so that's a really beautiful song. And it's in kind of a scale pattern. So remember when I was talking about scale, where you go up kind of one note at a time? And sometimes these types of songs are a little bit easier to learn at first, because you're going up just one note at a time. Like that. And then you'll also learn how to do songs where you do more of a skipping pattern, so you might skip over notes. And kind of the fancy word for that is arpeggio, where you play broken chords. So like that. So that's a beautiful minuet by Bach, J.S. Bach. You've probably heard of him. Okay, the same song or similar. So here I'm crossing strings. It just means I'm going from my D to my A string to my D on A. And that would be something that you would get into if you were taking lessons, is how to cross strings like that. We'll talk a little bit about it later. Now, I didn't really talk about the bow. So here's the bow. And the way you hold the bow is at first, if you're really little, if you're a little kid and you're just learning how to do it, you might hold your thumb like that, just kind of the bottom of the frog. This part of the bow is called the frog, okay? And you can hold your thumb underneath that, and then just kind of wrap your fingers over the top of the bow like that. That's if you're first learning. Then what you do is you move your thumb so that it's a little hard to show here, but you can kind of see. And you can move your thumb so your thumb is actually bent and right on the edge of the stick. And it takes a while to get this, and you want to just kind of keep your hand relaxed, and then your pinky finger just rests on top of the bow, and these fingers just kind of wrap around the outside of the bow. Now, when you're first learning bow grip, we call this bow grip, you don't have to use your bow. You can use a pencil when you're not practicing and you're just like in the car or going somewhere or just at home. You can just try holding a pencil like that, or anything you have around, like a stick, or I don't know, I found this in my yard. I'm not even sure what it is. It's like an old blackberry cane. But this, you can easily hold this, and then you can just kind of practice holding your bow grip. So as you get more advanced, we actually move our fingers around while we're playing a lot, which is, at first it's a little scary because you feel like you're going to drop your bow, okay? But you get used to it. You train all your fine muscles to react, and then you figure out how to keep holding it. But once in a while we do actually drop our bow, which is a little scary sometimes. Okay, so now let's go back to our warm-up, because you are going to start to learn how to do it with slurs. And what I mean by slur is that I'm going to use my bow kind of the same way, except I might use a little longer bow, and I'm going to play 2 notes per bow. So I'm going to start here, and when I get to about here, I'm going to go to a different note, okay? So let's do it with the warm-up pattern. So maybe I'll go 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's a slur. I'm going 1, 2 notes on a bow. Then you might go to 4. smooth bow. Okay, we go faster and faster, okay? So like that. And that way you get your dexterity, okay? You get your fingers really warmed up and you build up some strength too. So now let's go back to that long, long ago. And this is a song where you can play it like the melody, like I played before, and then you can play a variation. So a variation means it's you're playing basically the same song, but something's different or something's added. And in this case, I'm going to add some slurs. So remember, this was the one that went like this. So now I'm going to add some notes and I'm going to add some slurs. Okay, so if you're just beginning, this is going into just a little bit more advanced because I'm playing slurs and I'm crossing strings. And I'm also doing what's called a staccato slur. You might notice I was going like this with the bow. So smooth. And then you are doing a slur, but you're stopping in between the notes. So, and the other way you practice that is crossing your strings. So so you see how within playing the same song, you can hear that melody, but you also hear that I'm adding a little rhythm and a little harmony at the same time. Okay? Viola, go even lower. It goes to that low C string. So if I start on my low C string, I can go up those 8 notes, like we talked about doing an 8-note scale, and then I can keep going, right? So I went on all the strings, and I went 16 notes that time, so that's called a 2-octave scale. Okay, let me do that again. I'll do it with some slurs now. Like that. Okay, and then you go back down. Let me do a 2-octave scale on violin. So on the violin, if you want to do the one that's using all the strings, then you start on G. So that's the lowest string on violin is the G. And then you go faster and faster. Okay, so as you practice, you go faster and faster, and you learn a lot of different note patterns, and then you can learn different songs. And the other bowing thing I wanted to show you, there's a lot of bowing techniques, and we talked mostly about the smooth slur, like that. And then you can also do, that's called slurring. We talked about that. And then I wanted to say that when we're doing separate bows, that's often called détaché, which literally means detached. So you can be playing separate bows, and sometimes they're just a little bit stopped in between, or they can be really smooth. And then let's talk about staccato bowing. So staccato, S-T-A-C-C-A-T-O. It's I wanted to spell it for you because what I like to say is that it sounds literally like the bow got stuck, which is a different word. But you stop. You really stop the bow in between. And that takes a while to learn. If you're just learning how to do this, you know, at first you might get kind of a scrunchy sound like that. Because again, this bow hand's doing a lot of work learning how to stop the bow, okay? And then gradually okay, and you can, like I talked about, you can do staccato slurs, so I can do it maybe a little faster, like still like staccato, and then that's kind of how it sounds on violin on a couple of the strings. Then staccato, and you can do it in different parts of the bow. Sometimes we play up here closer to the tip. This is called the tip of the bow. So really stopping. And then this is more legato. So this is going back to that. Okay, just to still give you a little bit of an idea of how the viola sounds. Then if I'm doing staccato bow, but I really, really speed it up, this is what happens. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, what happened there? So if you just start playing your staccato bow so fast that it's really hard to stay on the string anymore, you turn it into a different bowing called spiccato. S-P-I-C-C-A-T-O. So this is where the bow is really bouncing. And this is really a fun one to learn. It takes a while. It's actually, I think, a little bit harder to learn than staccato, because staccato, you're staying on the string. So I'm going to show you how I like to teach beginning spiccato. And even if you kind of know how to do spiccato, you will enjoy trying this. So at first, you just let your bow drop. If you haven't done this before, you can do it where you just let your bow go down bow and just bounce. Depends a little bit on your bow, but you'll usually find a spot in your bow where all of a sudden it just sort of magically wants to bounce on its own. It's usually right around the middle of the bow or going towards the tip a little bit. And that's the spot where ideally you want to try to do your spiccato. So at first, just kind of let it bounce, and it's a little bit like a trampoline feeling. You're just kind of letting it bounce. And again, at first, when you're first doing this, you're going to kind of get that scrunchy sound, like it might do that, or you'll hit both strings. So just keep going, just keep doing it, because the more you do it, you get past that. Okay, so you might get that kind of like bouncing too much like that. So I'm going to just let it do that. is what I like people to do at first is turn into a scale, like a super easy scale. So you're not having to think too much about what your left hand's doing. You're just playing 8 bows per note. So for example, I'll do the D one again. So it's just doing that bounce. And this is another one where you just work it up gradually faster and faster. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like that. And on viola. So again, just letting it bounce. Like that. So that's the basics of how to do spiccato, and then you can work up into fancy pieces that use a lot of spiccato, and especially in our symphony music, we play a lot of spiccato. So that's about halfway through our lesson, and we'll take a break.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio with virtual violin and viola lessons with Danielle McCutcheon right here. We are live all the day, way long, until 9 p.m. So make sure you keep up with us on our Facebook Live video going on strong with lots more to continue. More with Danielle McCutcheon in just a little bit.
You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world. Check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram, RainierAvenueRadio.world, and on Twitter at RainierAvRadio.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
The United States Supreme Court ruled on Monday that a landmark civil rights law protects LGBTQ workers from workplace discrimination, handing the movement for LGBTQ equality a long-sought and unexpected victory, following Trump's turning back trans healthcare protections. Justice Neil M. Gorsuch wrote for the majority in the 6-3 ruling, quote, "An employer who fires an individual merely for being gay or transgender defies the law," unquote. That opinion has 2 dissents, spanning 168 pages, touched on a host of flashpoints in the culture wars involving the LGBTQ community, which includes bathrooms, locker rooms, sports, pronouns, and religious objections to same-sex marriage. The decision, the first major case on transgender rights, came amid widespread demonstrations, some protesting violence aimed at transgender people of color. Until Monday's decision, it was legal in more than half of the states to fire workers for being gay, bisexual, or transgender. The vastly consequential decision thus extended workplace protections to millions of people across the nation, continuing a series of Supreme Court victories for gay rights.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Point pen and it's been 10 minutes. We'll get the message sent that you hear. Keep listening. Some roads get fixed. Less needs go unmentioned. Privacy's a must. Not a word gets mentioned. Just keep in mind the youth as the time goes by. Let's clean up the streets, hold down the block. See, we beat the key that opens the lock.
It's time. We all gon' be counted.
Demand to be counted. Complete the census by phone or online. This message is brought to you by the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle.
Class of 2020 graduates, we are let's see. To the esteemed graduates of the class of when you finish high school, college, grad school, or grade school, you're still graduating. That just doesn't feel right. 2020 graduates, we got you. Rainier Avenue Radio celebrates your hard work while maintaining safe and social distance. Rainier Avenue Radio celebrates your experiments without the crowds, but with a lot of pomp and circumstance. Presenting your class of 2020 graduates. Congratulations to Taylor Corrine Benton. Taylor Corrine is the 2020 graduate of SAS, Seattle Academy of Arts and Sciences. Taylor Corrine founded the Black Student Union in SAS. Taylor Corrine played basketball in her senior year and led the team in rebound. Taylor Corrine is also an actress, portraying Olivia in the SAS production of Shakespeare's 12th Night. Taylor Corrine finished high school with a 3.83 grade program. Taylor Corrine is looking forward to stepping onto the University of Southern California campus, officially a USC Trojans. Your father, and your mother are so proud of you. And we're excited for your next year. Taylor Corrine Benton, 2020 graduate. Congratulations.
You are listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world. Don't forget to log on www.RainierAvenueRadio.world.
You're tuned in to Make Music Day Seattle 2020, live all day long on Rainier Avenue Radio. Now we go back to some viola and violin lessons with Danielle McCutcheon.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So I was just tuning my instruments. That's one thing we didn't really talk about before. We tune, before we play. And what that means is I'm listening to my strings, and then you learn how to play a certain pitch on one string. Like a lot of times, if you ever go to a symphony concert, you'll hear the oboe player play an A, and then we all tune it, and everybody's like playing this all at the same time. And you can't tell what anybody's doing, right? So we're tuning. We're actually getting these in fifths. So if I go from my D, the A is 5 notes up. So you learn how to play in fifths like that. So, and that's playing double stops, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Now, one song I know everybody's gonna recognize is okay, you know that song, right? And that's a super fun song to play on violin and viola. And actually, I'll play it for you on viola because it sounds really different. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about shifting. Now, this is getting into just a little bit more advanced, definitely advanced beginner, intermediate playing, where you do what we call shifting. So far, I have mostly been playing in this part of the instrument, right by the neck, because it's called the neck. And that's called first position. That's where you just learn how to play. And then you learn how to shift, which means perhaps I'm playing here, let's say on the G string on viola, and I want to go up higher on the same string. So if I'm playing third finger here, then I can switch places with first finger, and then I can keep going up like that. I want to show you a super easy exercise for starting to learn how to shift. And this is really easy, and you can do it on all the strings. So let's say, I'll just stay on the G string. Okay, I'm on viola, but we'll do it on violin as well. So I'm going to that third finger note, just to feel like it's kind of in tune. Okay. Now I'm gonna go play that note, and then lift all my fingers to play the open G and shift. So I switch to first finger and back to the open string and move my hand back down. So just staying on that note, and while you're on the open string, you do the shift. You move your hand. Let's do it again. It's just a very, very beginning shifting exercise. Let me show you on violin. That's just so you get used to that motion with your left hand. You're letting your thumb kind of lead, and your thumb has to move. Because if you don't move your thumb, what happens is, let's see, I'm trying to find that note. Well, if you're really flexible, you can do it, but then it makes it like you're really doing yoga with your hands. So you really have to bring that thumb up, because then you can go even higher. So again, now I'm third finger on the D string for violin, if you want to try it out with me. So find, okay, that's G, that's your third finger on the D. So then I'm going and shift. And you can do it on all the strings. Okay, so just kind of. And then another exercise to start to do is a little bit more of a scale pattern. Like, so I'm going to go A, B, C, D, but on the D, switch to first finger. So like that, okay? And then, you get into more complicated exercises for shifting. I mean, everything I'm talking about has tons and tons of books that go along with it. So you can find lots of books and resources for teaching you as well. So here's a song on viola that uses just a little bit of shifting, just to kind of incorporate it into a song. Okay. I'm starting actually in third position. Down to first position. Like that. Then another song on violin that you might recognize. It's a little faster, that has some shifting. Okay, so I started in first position, played a chord like that. First. Excuse me. Now I'm jumping up to third position. Okay. Staying. And here I might go back to first. Okay. And then, so lots of songs we go into third position, and then you keep going up, like fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Okie dokie. I'm going to take just a sip of my tea, and we're going to talk about how to do double stops. Double stops, like I kind of started to talk about, like when we're tuning, you play two strings at the same time. Like that. Now, you can get into, excuse me, lots of songs where you play double stops. And an easy way to start is, for example, if you're on violin, play your A, B together, like this. Start to go up your A string like a scale while you keep playing the D. Just to get used to playing two strings at the same time if you haven't done it before. So you can kind of just, like I was doing that warm-up pattern. Then you can reverse the string that you're doing your fingerings on. So keep playing A and D, but now do the fingers on the D string. And then you start to play both of the strings together on more difficult things. For example, okay, this is actually from a book that's called Melodious Double Stops, and it's all about learning how to play double stops, but with some really pretty exercises that really sound like pieces. Now, that sounds actually quite different on viola to do that same thing. Let's go to our G and C just to do the practice. So you can start really simply like that, and then you can start doing thirds. So for example, I'm playing D, open D, and then I might put second finger down on the G string and play those at the same time. Hopefully you can see, and you can go by hearing as well. And then you can leave those down and then put first finger down on the D and third finger down on the G, right? And that's an easy finger exercise. Now, did you notice that this is actually, I'm not really doing a really harsh staccato, but it's, you could make it that way, okay? That's using slurs and staccato. And now let's talk a little bit about some special techniques. So, for example, some things that are really fun to do are, I was just noticing that there was a chat. Oh, okay, I'm just seeing a message. So you, let's talk about a couple of special techniques. One's called glissando, where you're actually sliding up. So you kind of just play, start in first position, and and then you can do it on all the strings, and you can do two notes at the same time. And you will find music where you do this, and you can just do it for fun. And you can always make up your own song where maybe you do this glissando technique. It can be fast. Sometimes you do a combination of glissando and going up to what's called a harmonic, which is another special technique. Okay, I'll just stay on one string to demonstrate harmonic. So you want to just, some of you probably already know how to do this, but I'm just really straightening out my pinky finger to just barely press down on the string. And in different sections of the string, you get what are called harmonics. And you'll know when you're on it because you'll suddenly get this really, really super clear high pitch like that. So. Okay. And then let me just, hopefully this sounds okay on this format today. So it's real, again, a really high pitch. Then, you know how I talked about at the beginning where you can learn to play like this and plucking? Well, we actually play a lot of pizzicato like this, holding the instrument like this, like we normally do. And then all you're doing is you're using like the inside of your index finger, and you can set your thumb right on the edge of the kind of the corner of the fingerboard and just pull the string like that. Sometimes you can just keep your hand free up in the air. And you can also play chords like that. And sometimes we do this, okay? A little bit more like you're playing ukulele. All right, and that's a lot of fun to do. And if you haven't been doing it for a while, it can actually be make your finger a little sore. But there's a lot of music that uses that technique as well. Yeah. Tuning in a little out of tune. Another bowing that's really fun to do. You actually call it ricochet bowing. So it has a fancier name too, but. So it's a little bit like the spiccato bowing I was doing earlier, but you really just let it bounce like 2 times. This is the William Tell overture, so. So it just takes a little while to get used to, especially when you're going faster. Like that. Okay, you want to hear on viola? So all these songs, you know, you can play on different instruments and they sound totally different. Going faster. Right. Okay, now one thing, if you're used to playing your music and reading your music, so we've covered how to do, let me just show you a couple examples of things. We played some scales, or we play with the slurs, so that those marks, those kind of curved lines are called slurs. So when you learn how to read music, you learn all these notation. Then when we got into our longer, faster scales, it starts to look like that. So see how the notes look a little different with different markings to tell you that they're 16th notes. And 2 options of slurs, right? You can play the whole measure as a slur and then faster. And when we talked about staccato, some of you probably already know this, but when you see the notes, that might be a little hard to see, but there's dots, little dots underneath the notes. And that, for string players, that means staccato. That's where we did the stopped bow. Okay. So now, one thing that you can do, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the string crossings. So, for example, on this one, you can play staccato, but look what happens. You have to play crossing all the strings, but making sure you don't actually play the other strings, okay? So on viola, for example, I might play. So then, this is where we get a little more into what's going on with your right arm, okay? So the right arm, your bow arm, is often like a lever, okay? So I'm actually leaving my bow on the strings, but I'm very quickly, silently going over to the A string and back. Like that. So I'm quickly moving my right elbow, and I'm not moving the bow when I cross the string. I'm not going this way so much. So there's a lot of action often going on with the right arm that maybe you haven't really been able to see my right arm. But so let's talk a little bit more about that. And then another technique is called accents. Okay, and this focuses a little bit on the bow hand as well. So if you see an accent, that's kind of like the sideways. Oh, let me see if I have an accent to show you. Well, it's like a sideways V above or below a note. And that means you really emphasize that note. So for example, if I'm on G on the violin, and I want to do accent, all it means is at the very beginning of the note, I kind of press. It's a little bit of a fast motion, and I'm pressing more on the bow hair. So it's kind of, see how I'm moving this hand a little bit fast just for a split second. So it's emphasizing the note, okay? Do you want to hear that on viola because it sounds different? I'll do the C string because you didn't really get to hear that too much. So hopefully you can hear that because the difference is I'm playing this just smoothly. And then I add accent. So it's kind of separating the notes a little bit and it's emphasizing them in a different way. Okay, so, and you know the song I played a little bit of before where I went fast in spiccato? That was that song, Perpetual Motion by Paganini. And it goes on and on and on like that. And guess what? There's like 4 or 5 more pages like that. So as you practice and you build up your endurance and your technique, you can play longer and longer pieces. And you might play like at least 2 hours a day, even as a intermediate player. And especially if you start playing in orchestra. And you know, right now nobody's really playing in orchestra. We're playing all kind of separately. So it's been a little different time that way. But all these skills, you know, you can be practicing over the summer and really, really honing your skills and learning new things and studying how to play. You know, you can learn a new instrument even over the summer and play all these different techniques. So it's really been fun talking with you today and showing you some new things. And I'm just going to end with a little bit of that, the Mozart Eine Kleine again. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking about all these fun things with you, and I hope you enjoy your practice, and I hope you can spend some quality time with your instruments over the summer, and have a great summer, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you.
You got 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes?
2 more minutes.
Are there any requests? Oh, you know what? There is one thing I didn't talk about that I can show you. You might be wondering, why am I shaking my hand? This hand, sometimes it shakes. And it's not because I'm nervous or anything. We call that vibrato. So I can show you a little bit about how to do vibrato. So there are different ways to learn it. Actually, a really easy way to start it is to just do this. Hold your violin or viola, like guitar again, and then play. Just put your finger down, like, for example, first finger on the A string, and kind of like you're on the note in the center of your finger. Just rock back and forth. Like, this is the way I learned how to do it. So just kind of doing this wiggle where it's like you're going really flat, but then sharp. So I'm staying kind of this motion, and it looks a little weird. And if you try it when you're using your bow, it sounds really weird, but at first you can just practice it this way and doing all of your fingers like that. You're just kind of getting that rocking motion going. And this is also a little bit of a dexterity exercise, or kind of a range of motion exercise, and it's hardest on the pinky finger. Then when you start to play with it, so the open string I don't really have vibrato on, although there is a really fancy technique to kind of make it sound like you're doing vibrato on your open string. But then you just start to do that slow.
Let's all thank Danielle McCutcheon for
thank
violin and viola lessons.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio with our all day long special broadcasts of Make Music Seattle, going on all the way until 9 p.m. tonight. If you like string instruments and want to learn a little bit more, we got more for you. Rick, we're going to switch things over to the guitar with Julian Catford. So you know what to do. Don't touch no dials. Don't touch no browsers. Just leave it all on and stay with us on Rainier Avenue Radio all day long. Make Music Day Seattle 2020.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Rainier Avenue Radio presents All Music All Day Saturday. Music All Day Saturday.
This is Edward Bailey, Bulldog Blue.
Jazz from the Cabinets.
That's right, it's time once again for Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy.
Start Time.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Pierce. This is Start Time.
Saturdays, all music, all day. Reggae Hour, K-Fox Night.
Looking for the perfect beat? Yeah, it's the beat of the box.
Fresh Juice, D-Money in there.
Myself, D-Money. Ice Ice Patrol.
This is Spencia, the Northwest Rap Gang.
DJ Medina, Chad Cheddar, Northwest Rap Gang.
Sergio LaCour's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio LaCour. Going to the phone line. Tell her who we talking.
Sea Monster Radio, Mo Jams, it's your jam.
We're live. Welcome to Mo Jam Mondays. This is KZ of KZ Music Media. Caller Goddess for Mo Jam Mondays.
Just my opinion. God is inspiration.
All day and all night.
Saturdays on RainierAvenueRadio.org.
What is the coronavirus? Coronavirus is affecting people's ability to unanswer questions about the coronavirus.
What's the deal with
I feel like we're not getting the whole story about the coronavirus. There are several patients at the hospital who are at end of life. What is the coronavirus?
Coronavirus disease 2019, a known as COVID-19, is a respiratory illness that can spread from person to person. Patients with COVID-19 have had mild to severe respiratory illness with symptoms of fever, cough, and shortness of breath. There is currently no vaccine to protect against COVID-19. There is no specific antiviral treatment for COVID-19. If you're concerned and you have symptoms, don't go to urgent care. Call your provider or call the ER or
if you don't have anyone's number, call King County's coronavirus line at 206-477-3977. Or if that line is busy, you can try 1-800-525-0127.
This message is a public service announcement of RainierAvenueRadio.org.